Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart is more than just a simple story about murder. Through the use of an unreliable narrator, Poe creates a story that results with a man attempting to prove his sanity while revealing his madness. In The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe uses the narrator's obsessive nature, fragmented syntax, and the imagery of violence to show how internal conflict can become an internal parasite to a person. Poe exposes this theme through the process of revealing his insanity with the focus on the old man's eye, developing into unstable language and speech and leading to his eventual breakdown. Through contradictions in the narrator's speech, his unstable mind and internal conflict is exposed. As theorized with Freudian slips, unconscious thoughts may be revealed through outbursts in speech. I have lost control of my mind. Already being on the third line foreshadows the ultimate result of the parasite-like takeover of internal conflict and establishes the narrator's mental instability. He begins the story with a debate against himself and sanity. This is followed by short claims of more internal argument, such as, "It is impossible to say how the idea first entered my head. There was no reason for what I did. I did not hate the old man. I even loved him." These rapid short sentences represent an unsteady rhythm. Also, the conflicting statements show the narrator at the same time trying to justify himself internally. The need for validation, even if from the self, indicates a lack of security in oneself. The narrator's obsession on the old man's eye is established as a main symbol of his decaying mind as a result of internal conflict. The second main passage serves as an example of the full process of internal conflict leading to internal demise. The process begins with the main character repeatedly attempting to validate the murder he later commits. This narrator becomes obsessed with the old man's eye as he attributes it to the main cause of his disturbance. It is described as the eye of a vulture, which he introduces violent imagery to the reader, alluding to the death, which serves as a metaphor for the internal decay of the narrator. Poe also utilizes other grim diction in words such as fall, cold, and terrible, furthering the narrator's predator-like obsession with the old man's eye. Unstable and uncertain speech shows the issues caused by this internal obsession. The repetition of "I did not" indicates this pattern of denial, as if the narrator is trying to convince himself of his own innocence, or that his reason for murder was valid before convincing the reader. This creates tension, and in the same way bad tensions can cause the eventual snap of a relationship, the narrator's internal tensions cause the eventual downfall of his mental stability. Poe reflects the idea of the narrator's gradually affected mental state through the use of fragments and punctuation. Edgar Allan Poe manipulates syntax and punctuation to reflect the narrator's mental fog. The heavy use of commas and dashes throughout the story creates the effect of breathlessness, almost as if the narrator is unable to control the flow of his own thoughts. As shown in the second main passage, Poe uses short sentences through the thoughts of the main character. "I did this 7 long nights, every night at midnight. Always the eye was closed, so it was impossible for me to do the work," followed by another 2 short sentences divided by a semicolon. Also, during the murder scene, Poe speeds up his speech rhythm to show the moment of his crash. "I rushed into the room crying, 'Die, die.' The old man gave a loud cry of fear as I fell upon him and held the bed covers tightly over his head. Still, his heart was beating, but I smiled as I felt that success was near." The syntax becomes faster, and the short bursts of dialogue followed by exclamation marks turn the narrator's words into violent echoes of his own thoughts. Later on, the repetition of "die, die," and "I smiled" connect the faster rhythm with internal meaning. The repetition suggests intensity and instability, while the smile following the murder reveals the same, making it seem like the murder satisfies the narrator. The repetition suggests the intensity and instability, while the smile following the murder reveals the same, making it seem like the murder satisfies the narrator. By using punctuation and syntax to control pacing, Poe transforms language into a reflection of mental disturbance. The exclamation marks represent the climax of the narrator's crash, while the fragmented sentences show the narrator's mind moving like a fast heartbeat, which could also draw connections to the symbol of the heartbeat at the end of the story. The most prevalent symbol in The Telltale Heart is the sound of the old man's heartbeat, representing the almost hallucination-like takeover of guilt that leads to his collapse. After the murder, the narrator insists that he hears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. The comparison of the heartbeat to a watch connects the sound to time passing, suggesting that the downfall of the narrator caused by guilt is coming closer to reality. As the story progresses, the sound grows louder, and the narrator struggles to get rid of the sound. The beating grew louder, louder, louder. I foamed, I raved, I swore. I felt that I must scream or die. Again, repetition of louder and the use of dashes create a sense of speeding up, or in this case, the feeling of guilt closing in. With the unreliability of the narrator and the sound getting louder, the sound may even be entirely imagined, or be the sound of the narrator's heartbeat itself, which emphasizes his loss of composure with not being able to distinguish between the two because of his internal conflict caused by guilt. The psychotic moments of the narrator reveal the destructive cycle of internal conflict and how it eats an individual from the inside out like a parasite. The more the narrator tries to prove his sanity and control his guilt, the more those efforts expose his insanity. This represents the gradual but fatal parasitic-like infection that is internal conflict. Poe's use of the unreliable narrator's obsessive nature and internal arguments show how the internal conflict's effects can sneak up on you, until it takes a more rapid toll shown by the sentence fragments and dashes, and eventually causes a crash shown by the sentence structure along with punctuation. With the sneaky nature of internal conflict, it is important for individuals to practice self-reflection, rather than allowing themselves to become consumed in their own internal conflict.